doctor who was kind of sitting behind us. She was like the older stateswoman, she's got a PhD, and she's been doing this forever. But the younger gals were just playing on the floor with them, and they're just sitting there while Rhett's playing and going through stuff. They're just asking you questions for like an hour and 20 minutes. And it's almost like the clipboard mentality. They're sitting there going, But they give you these looks, and this is what I do. I read physiology, and I'm reading into the behavior. I'm like, what'd that mean? What? I just saw your eyebrows going up. What, is that good? Is that normal? This is your concerned parent. It's for an hour and 20. It's just a rigor of questions. And I walked out of there, and I was emotionally affected. Not like I wasn't in tears or anything, but my wife goes, "You seem upset." And I said, "I didn't like that. That's our son." And they just asked a bunch of questions. They wouldn't answer anything. I asked for feedback, got nothing. They said, "Well, we're going to send you the full report, in 2 weeks." Of course, we didn't get it for 5 weeks. So it's another 3 weeks of angst and internal stress. And then you're going through your identity as a father going, gosh, did I not do a good enough job? Did I let him play on the iPad too much? You go through all this stuff. But I remember sitting in there, and it hit me. I said, that's a powerful technique. To sit there behind the clipboard, so to speak, and ask a bunch of questions that gets the other person thinking, and it gets them thinking deep about some of this stuff. People at the end, they're eating out of your hand. They want to ask, well, how'd I do? Well, how am I doing compared to other people? John, you meet with, 30 people a week, and you're asking me all these questions. Am I an idiot? Do I need help? So it puts you in the power position, just like these doctors were clearly in the power position with me. Rightfully so. That's what they're trained to do, but it's no different with you. You sit there and you have your preset questions that you're going through, and that's your diagnostic. I call my first call ever with people a diagnostic call. I've always called it that. But I took my diagnostic call to another level after I walked out of this appointment, because I saw the power of asking questions that get people thinking. Because at the end, after a few of them I had people on the other end of the phone going, hey man, you're asking me a lot of questions that I haven't really thought about. You're asking about, do I have written goals? When's the last time I had a dedicated plan? Have I ever held myself accountable on a 0 to 10 scale? How disciplined are you? I came up with all these questions. They were preset, and I got them. I'm on with the phone. I'm just taking notes. And at the end, people would say, man, am I screwed up? I'm like, no, you're not screwed up. You're like everybody else. This is normal. This is the process. It's just you self-assessing yourself and getting you thinking about what's important to you, what your goals are, or what you want to do to get to that next level, however you define it. So John and John learned this when we first started working together, but bringing it into method really was in the last couple of years where it just became systematic. It's not just a way of going through an initial consultation. It's a way of thinking. So when you're meeting with somebody socially or at a cocktail function or, hell, you're out here golfing with somebody for 5 hours, you got a captive audience sitting in your golf cart with somebody who's a prospect. I'm using this. I may not have my journal out on the golf course, but as soon as I get back to my car, man, I'm jotting notes down, trying to get as much of that bend wimp stuff out so I have stuff to follow up on in future touches. Cool. I've seen what you guys had shared with me when we were in Texas. I've seen the meeting itself, right? My belief is there's probably a lot of overlap there. You may go through a philosophy. That's basically a big pre-frame. You know what I mean? So it may be different vernacular, but just the way it's laid out, just in the mind, this is how people want information from a behavior perspective. They want to be acknowledged. They want to feel like you appreciate their time. Correct. And yeah, but this is, we're in the middle of the meeting or the process, if you will, with the bend wimp stuff. But now if you followed all the steps that we've led up to, now you can get away with all this stuff. But imagine if you start a meeting and you go right into some of these things. Hey, so what are your biggest fears in life? I'm like, whoa, buddy, you haven't even asked me if I'm married, if I have kids, why I'm here, how I got referred in, and you're already jumping into my wounds? This is a little deep. So that's why when you follow the steps, right? Build a rapport, pre-frame, and you tee everything up, they actually, the client or prospect will just eat out of your hand in this section. This is the fun part for me, is when you can just start asking powerful questions. Now, I can't emphasize enough, too, the power of a question, because when I talked about earlier, touch, move, impact, or agitate, your goal could be exactly the same. You can walk into a meeting, pre-frame that, and say, hey, I'm gonna tell you right up front, I'm gonna ask you a bunch of questions. Some of the questions may not sit well with you. I'm okay with that, because I want to get you out of your comfort zone. That's how you grow. So some of the questions are not meant to make you feel uncomfortable, but I know they do because I do this all day long, every week. So I just wanted to let you know why I'm asking these questions. There's a reason. There's a method to me asking you these questions because that's going to help me better serve you as the client. You know what I mean? How you tee that up. It gets to a comfort level. My journal is over there, but what's a couple of the guys I'm referring to, what they did was they came up with their own go-tos. So 8 times 3, 24 questions, minimized it into a piece of paper like in 10 font, taped it to the front of the journal so they refer to it. You know, because it's a new process for them when they're learning this. So they just kind of glance down at it from time to time. They don't, I'm using the example of the doctors as an extreme example. I mean, I wouldn't have a clipboard in my hand if I was you guys. No. That's kind of what a doctor does, right? That's acceptable in their world. In your world, I'm not saying go get a clipboard, but at least you have your go-to questions either right here. Like I don't even look down at anything anymore. I mean, I wrote out all the questions that I added after I did this appointment with my son, and then I fed them into my brain, saw them over and over. Now I can just pull them from my head. I don't look at anything. But when you're learning it, it's good to have something that you can refer to. Because you're just taking notes in a journal, or you're just listening, being present with somebody, and then you're taking notes after the fact. So I agree. You're a very consultative sale. So you have to be engaged. It's got to be a conversation. That's what I mean. You don't follow these in order, BENDWIMP. You may bounce around in the set, but you already kind of have your questions preset. Yeah, well, I'm with you 100% on that. Well, I think of it a lot like in the media, somebody who's a really good interviewer, they already know, Barbara Walters already know where she's going to go, okay, when she sits down with Oprah Winfrey or Michael Jordan or whomever. But that meeting could go right or left, and she's very adroit on her feet to be able to, hey, well, we almost got some tears there. Let's let her go down that path. Let's let her talk about her fears in her life and let that go for 5 minutes. Then we'll go to break, regroup, and just, it's never, when you watch, a good interviewer, they're not, I mean, I always thought Larry King kind of cheated because, he leaned forward and he had his note card in front of him, so he'd act like he wasn't looking down. But, I've had friends that have been on his show, and they're like, man, he just goes right out in the questions, right from his little note card that's sitting in front of him. But, he's Larry King. He can get away with that stuff. So it's the same kind of thing. It's having the latitude and the flexibility in a meeting, because there's going to be times where you see something in somebody's eyes where you want to go deeper with that. It could be a fear or a wound, or it could be a big goal that they have in their life because you see their eyes go up. So it's picking up on physiology to be able to go. But that's why I say there are certain meetings I'll do where I don't get all 8 out. I may get like 5, but that's only one touch. I'm going to talk to them in a month. I'm going to have a meeting in another month. I'm going to have a client appreciation meeting, and I'm going to corner that person and try to get the 8 points out eventually. So you may not get this in an initial meeting, but at least that's a goal.